Okay, so welcome everyone. Just make yourself comfortable. I'm just going to take a few moments to check in and to really begin by appreciating the opportunity that this practice affords us to, just to genuinely start to slow down and to see if there are, any areas where we can cultivate a little more patience. So let's just begin with that. Let's just begin by slowing down, make yourself comfortable, and just a general sort of check-in with just the quality, this lovely quality that is in some ways such an incredibly powerful teacher of patience. So let's just breathe. Just breathe. Be aware of simply being. Be aware of simply being. And just breathe. Be aware of simply being, and to genuinely relax into this state of beingness. And it really isn't even a state. It is who we are, this beingness. We start to very patiently let go of all the variety of experiences that we identify with, that we're possibly somewhat attached to, that we think is important and relevant. So none of our experiences for this practice are relevant, are important, are necessary. We just become aware of simply being. So let's just sit with this for a few moments in silence. Just breathe and be aware of simply being. Your body is very, very precious. Please take very good care of it. This is your vehicle for awakening. Now yoga. Good. So, yeah, let's move a little bit. I would like to bend the knees back, but not so intensely that it's going to feel unsafe or distracting. So feel free to sit up on as much height as you need to, because we will be here in this position probably for 10 minutes. So if you come into a tight knee bend and after a few minutes you're wishing you hadn't done this, I mean, you can always, bolster up over time. But I think for this, we're more concerned with the upper body and the shoulders and the neck for this first thing. So, take a pillow or take a big bolster, sit up on whatever you need to release as much tension out of the knees, but still have just enough to know that you're bending them back. So I'm going to just use this small one. So anything that works so you can comfortably bend the knees back over some time. Yeah. And then just take a moment just to settle in with that. And the reason I like to really take our time descending into each and every one of these poses is to start to let go of the idea that it's about the asana itself, that we have a target area and that we have an agenda, and that if we do this, that will happen. So maybe some yogas have that, yes, but the yin approach, the approach of receptivity and really coming more into a felt tone, a felt state, is to understand that whenever we move the body, we're really affecting the entire body. Sometimes it may not be so apparent, but really that's what's happening. So just take a little bit of time here and just check in with your body. So we've got the knees bent back. Possibly the ankles need some support, or you're a little too low or too high and you need to adjust. And then just maybe sway the hips back and forth and notice how the lumbar spine is. So just sort of a general checking in. So then when we come into a contraction of the posture, we're holding some awareness of the entirety of the body. Yeah? Okay. So what I would like to do is I would like to do eagle arms and come into a forward bend. Yeah, so the time will be limited. So I know sometimes with these more active things, if we understand that the time is going to be limited, we can hold it a little more with a little more stillness and precision than if we're in more of a supported backward bend or a forward bend where we just let go of the sense of time. But because of the muscular activity of this, I'm just telling you that it will be relatively brief. It might not seem like it when we're in it. So the way that I would like to begin here is just inhale the arms up over the head. So just open the lungs and breathe. And then let's bring the left arm under the right and twist at the elbows. Yeah, so I'm twisting at the elbows. And then if you're able to, you could interlock the fingers if you would like. You could put the hands in prayer position. You could hold on to the thumb or the wrist, or you could just leave the arms open if you're not having accessibility into the shoulders. So just take a moment here to bring this left arm under the right, and then very slowly start to come forward. And I don't mean forward out and down, that we're going to bring the arms to the floor. I mean forward and in. So it's as if we're bringing the elbows more into the lower belly. And nice and slow. With a relaxation as well as a compression. So we want to find some harmony and some equilibrium between the amount of compression and the spaciousness of relaxation. So let the head relax down. No need to really pull. It's the twisting of the arms and just the body coming forward is enough compression. So if you find yourself forcing yourself in and down, you can relax that just a bit. Allow yourself a few inhale breaths where you breathe into the mid back. So this back line of the thoracic area is very, very tricky, the way it holds tension. So particularly with a position like this, if you inhale into the mid back, there's a good chance it will reveal some interesting things. And then keep your arms in this position and just bring everything up. So we're going to keep the left under the right, but it's almost like we're coming into a backward bend now. Head can come back, arms can come up, and then allow yourself to relax back down. And just do a few of these on your own. Obviously, the slower you go, the better. Feeling into your edge of tension and tightness. So we just sort of open the shoulders here, get a little bit of a backward bend. And the next time you come down, just settle back down for a few more moments. So we won't be here too much longer, but just relax back into it. Good. So let's release all of this. And again, inhale the arms up over the head. Aye, aye, aye. And then when the arms get up, interlock your fingers and press the palms to the ceiling and just do an inhalation. So inhale, palms to the ceiling, and then exhale, let the arms come behind the head if they're able to, keeping the elbows straight if you can. And then relax the arms back down. So the back of my hands, my fingers are on my head. And one more time, inhale the arms up. Inhale, 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 and then exhale. Keep the fingers interlocked, but let the arms go behind the head on your exhale. Good. And then just relax the arms down. So let's just take a moment here to let the arms and the shoulders relax. And before we do the other side, just check in. You may want to take some bolstering away. If your knees are good for that, you may want to add some bolstering up. So about the same amount of time. So if your knees are asking for some attention, some loving kindness, please provide that. Good. So let's do the other side. Again, we'll inhale the arms up, nice deep full breath. And this time, let's take the right arm under the left. So it's a twisting at the elbows. And then whatever you can hold on to, just something to kind of tighten it up or not. Don't force this, that, the arms out, the hands separated, perfectly fine. So we just want to we're just bringing the internal rotation into the rotator cuff and the shoulder girdle here. And then take an inhale, and on the exhalation, start to bring those elbows down and in, again, more towards the lower belly. So we're obviously bringing some, well-needed contraction into the mid-back area of the body. And because, we have the mobility in the lumbar area and we have the mobility in the cervical area, we do not have the mobility in this thoracic area. So this is why I suggest to take some deeper inhale breaths and just feel it. You can navigate the breath to explore tension as well as the compression of the posture. And if you can really make sure you're indulging all of the weight of your head. So really let the head drop down. And then once again, just at your own rhythm, take an inhale and bring the arms up. So we're going to keep them twisted. It's just a little bit of a backward bend here, and then coming back into the forward bend of the pose. So just to initiate some movement. And just do this a couple of times on your own. And then at some point when you come back down, we'll settle back into this. And try to relax. Let your breath be calm and deep. Whatever you're feeling, allow yourself to feel it. Good. So let's release the tangle of the arms. Inhale the arms back over the head. Yeah. And again, we're going to interlock the fingers and press the palms up to the ceiling. Take an inhale And just press up, 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 up. Inhale, inhale, open the ribs, press up. On the exhale, let the arms come back. And you can even backward bend here a little if you would like. And then drop the arms down so the fingers, the back of the hands are on the head. And then inhale again, palms pressing up, stretching fingers, wrists, elbows back into the shoulders. The exhalation, let the arms come back. And then you can just relax the arms down. Good. Good. So let us from here, well, first of all, let's just release the knees if they will after all of that. So let's just check in with the knees. So just let the knees relax out and make sure they're good. And what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of build on the shoulder opening by twisting the upper body a bit. So what I would like to do is I would like you to, I'm going to kind of show it this way. So I would like you to come into a fetal position with the right shoulder on the floor. And maybe you might want to take a look at this first. So I'm in the fetal position with, hopefully you can see me here, yeah, with the right shoulder on the floor. And what I'm going to recommend is to keep the right shoulder down, get yourself a little pillow for your head so the neck doesn't strain. And then just let the left arm fall back without the shoulder coming back. So we're going to do that when we're done with this. What I want to do is I want to twist the upper spine by not allowing the left shoulder to come to the floor, but just the weight of the arm. As you can see, I'm holding the shoulder back. And then at some point, and both of my legs are up and on the floor, the left leg's on top of the right leg. Then what we'll do is we'll drop this left shoulder to the floor, and then your knees may want to come up a little bit. That's okay. And then we'll take the twist from the upper, and it'll just spiral down to the lower and actually connect the two. So let's do that. Let's come into the fetal position. Right shoulder on the floor, left arm up over the body, and then just let it drape back and just let the weight of the arm draw you into this upper shoulder, upper back, spine. Yeah, and just be intuitive with it. Let that left arm kind of float around a little bit and find a good spot. And as you're attempting to let your body relax, you can begin the relaxation of the mind by not having to have a running commentary with what you think is happening, not having to define and label things, and just feel, just allow yourself to be intuitive with the sensations, be present with the sensations without having to go in and allow the mind to sort of overlay, if you will. We, at some level, we want to keep the practice as visceral as possible. We want to keep the practice as close to the sensations as we can. And of course, the tendency is for the mind to, nothing wrong with the mind making notes, but the mind can also hijack us. So we're no longer in a visceral somatic experience. We're more in a mental labeling, defining, creating unnecessary preoccupation. So let that part of your mind, just no need to have any sense of what to do with the mind. Just let it relax. Just observe that these tendencies are there, but we're not so concerned with them. So let's take this transition very slowly. So we're going to keep the legs where they are, up towards the chest, curled up in fetal position, but they may want to come off the floor, but let them resist a little bit. So now we're going to take this left arm and bring that left shoulder to the floor. So the knees may want to come up a little bit, they may want to open. And once we get this left shoulder to the floor, we're in more of a traditional twist, and then we'll stay here. And you may be able to feel it's transferred a bit up from the neck and shoulders now down into the lumbar. And interestingly, this request for the mind to not be so involved, often this can cause a form of tension, a form of anxiety, because we're so used to the mind, always leading the way, the knowledge that we've accumulated, the dominance of the intellect, always thinks it knows better. So to come into a practice where we, very gently, we want to be sensitive. The mind is a very sensitive part of us, an aspect of us, but to ask it to just relax, to back away, that it's not so needed for this, and to just go into the fabric and the fiber and the texture of the body directly, this can be challenging for the mind. So be sensitive with that. Again, like I said, no need to manipulate the mind or discipline it, but just allow your awareness to be present, but bring most of that attention into the fabric of the body. Good. So you can keep the left shoulder where it is, and just bring the knees up towards the chest. I don't know how you can see me here. And just pull the knees in a little bit. Just have some movement before we go to the other side. Let's see, I should turn this way now. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm still there. Yeah, so just kind of work that out a little bit. And now let's go over to the left shoulder. So again, why not keep the knees up to the chest, come into a fetal position with the left shoulder on the floor, maybe here a little something for your head, and then extend that right arm up and then let it draw back, but don't let the shoulder go with it. So just like we did on the other side. Yep. So we're just using only the weight of the arm. It's a bit of holding, a bit of resistance for the shoulder. The knees, the right knee is staying on top of the left knee if that's possible. And what I said earlier with this right arm is you can let it sway. And wherever I put this, it's a little bit different where I'm feeling this in the twist. So have a little curiosity with the weight of the arm, and then just let it sink in so it kind of pulls you where it's going to pull you. when I invite you to just breathe, so it's very intentional for me to be this vague. So we're not giving the breathing mechanism, the body, any direction. We're just bringing awareness to the fact that you are breathing. And what does that feel like? What does that feel like when you just breathe? And part of the sensitivity of this is that the posture and the body have a very intelligent way of leading you to, guiding you to what breathing pattern is just perfect for what you're doing. So sometimes we relax to the point where the breath is non-existent, where the body just breathes itself, and we're in a deeper, not so much deeper, but a different domain of body mind. Other times, the posture and the body are saying, no, let's lengthen or deepen or soften or feel more of the breath. So we just throw this out, this beautiful, open invitation to just breathe. Good. So you can let the shoulder now, let that arm relax, and we're going to let the shoulder now, again, just like we did on the other side, go to the floor. And then the knees will do, let's just let the knees do what they will. We don't want to force them down, but our priority on the second part is the shoulder. And this is going to just adjust the angle of the range of motion of the twist. And you can certainly feel that. And then as we continue to relax with this, open-ended invitation to just breathe, and it is a relaxing, when we take any direction or technique away from this relationship of your body and your breathing, then allow your attention and your breath to weave together. And then for every pose and the rest of the practice, let them stay woven together. And no need to try to figure this out. This is a very, very natural way for your body to respond. So we're allowing the attention and the breath to weave together and just stay woven together. Good. So you can bring the knees back up. And again, have a little movement if you want to tuck them in, sway them about, whatever feels best here. And then we're going to take a bit of a rest here. So when you've shaken it all out and you feel good, just come lying flat and just allow your awareness to just sort of feel this connection. What I was saying earlier, that we're never, intending for a target area or doing this so that happens in a linear way. So now we've been into the elbows and the shoulders and the knees and the twisting. So just let this all just sort of reverberate and just feel it. And just to know, I mean, this is a tremendous, to me, what this yoga presents is a possibility and a potential in this idea of getting closer to the felt sense of your body, what you're actually feeling. So one of the reasons we take these rests is to actually slow down enough to feel this pulsation of the body. So we're no longer needing to think about or figure anything out about what's happening. We don't really even care what's happening. What we do care about is that we can feel it. And what we start to discover, and this is so beautiful, this is sort of at the foundation of working with this myofascial system, that there are vibrations. Yes, there are these sort of energetic pathways that get out of sync with the whole. And then we can start to invite them back in and encourage a return to harmony. But first we need to feel where they're out of sync. And this can take many forms. This is not a diagnosis. This is a very sensitive intuition. So we're below really the level of very overt symptoms. By the time we get to overt symptoms, this vibratory misalignment has been there for a while. So this possibility was we're going to discover these vibrations that are not quite in sync. And then the yoga, the postures, the breathing, the relaxation, the awareness allows us to encourage them to come back into harmony. And if this doesn't make any sense, that's a good thing. It's not meant to make sense. It's not meant to be a technique. Again, it's meant to be an awakening of your own intuitive intelligence. I'm just really sort of explaining a dynamic that's happening at the energetic level of the fascia. And it just in general, the fascia being, again, an interface between the physical and the energetic. So these energetic misalignments, these vibrations that are out of sync energetically, will then vibrate and manifest as physical, let's just say symptoms, but physical cues, physical information. If we listen to that, we can follow them into the energetic and see where we might be out of sync vibrationally. And then what our practice becomes, what our meditation becomes, what our relationship to ourself becomes, is how to encourage those vibrations to come back into sync, back into a sense of internal wholeness. And it may sound, maybe I'm making it sound a little esoteric, but forgive me, I seem to have a talent for taking simple things and making them sound esoteric. But it is incredibly possible to do this. So this is not something that we have to learn or develop, or it's nothing special. This is the way your body is. So we're developing this nuanced relationship with it. We're awakening parts of this body's wisdom that's already there. And it's just a matter of feeling. This is what I'm saying. The doorway into this is feeling. How does this feel? And then we work with, this feels dense, this feels tense, this feels ow, this feels this, it feels dehydrated. Okay, that's my doorway in to exploring this interface between the physical, the information, if you will, of the symptoms and what's out of sync on a deeper, more energetic level. Okay, so let's come on up, please. And we're going to, if you have a big bolster, get the big bolster. You may want a folded up blanket to elevate things. If you don't have, elevate things, to elevate your hips, not just things, but I guess your hips are things. But if you don't have the big bolster, you can certainly use some pillows. The thing is, we want to arch the back. And I'm also going to have a little something for the head. So you may want another blanket for the head so it doesn't strain into the neck too much. So I'll just show this with the pillows, as I've done it both ways. The reason I'm recommending this little pad to sit on, you may not need this. I won't use this right away because I don't really need it with the pillows. I need it with the bolster. However, what I want to do is I want to sit in front of either a couple of pillows or that large bolster side to side, and then come on over it. So the shoulders are off and the back is arching. So we're not doing a supportive torso. We're doing an arching of the back, shoulders coming back. So this is why I want a little pillow for the head. Yeah, so the head feels supported and safe. Then the blanket here or the towel folded up is if this feels unsafe for the whole back line, wherever, just elevate the hips and sit on this towel or this blanket. So you have some compression where articulating the entire back line from lumbar to cervical, but you feel safe and you can stay here for a long period of time. You can keep this this blanket nearby so you could put it in, let's say, halfway through, or if you're feeling a little unsafe, and you could also remove it. And then we're gonna, I can't extend my legs, but we're gonna extend the legs out so the legs are nice and relaxed. Yeah. We have a nice, deep, arching backward bend, shoulders coming off the bolstering, head supported, hips either elevated or not. But just making sure that you've set up the structure of the body so you can feel safe and relax and sink in and just start to, viscerally lean into and explore what I was just talking about in terms of feeling the blockages, the places where your vibration may be out of sync with the whole, and how you open up a process to start encouraging all of this back to harmony. And just breathe. Be aware of simply being. So very important, and this is something that I just say over and over and over again to you, and certainly to myself in my own practice, is that this is not about putting the body in a yoga asana, in a certain framework. That's just for us to explore. This is why we don't want to feel unsafe. We don't want to have any part of us in protection mode. Ultimately, the focus is tuning into our feelings and our emotions. This is primarily our teacher. What are you feeling? And from this level, this is where we open to this lovely, the best description of it really is a dance. It has the tightness of the myofascial restriction. So I'm speaking primarily physical, the physical tightness of your muscular fascial restrictions. As they start to release, then we can get to layers of unexpressed emotions. And unexpressed emotions also allow us to ease into obsolete belief systems. So this is a layer, if you will. It doesn't matter, what we think we believe, what we think we're feeling. This is an interface. This is why I'm calling it a dance between the releasing of the physical tightness and the releasing of suppressed, unexpressed emotional tone or content. It can be very, very subtle, or it can be not so subtle. And this just simply takes just great sensitivity, just great willingness to trust the process of the intelligence of the body itself, to feel what you're feeling, to allow the physical discomfort to guide you, to lead you, to inform you. And whatever, like I said, subtle feeling, not so subtle feeling, emotion, layers, places in the body that are stagnant and dormant, and just to allow them the light of your love, the trust that they can express. And this then allows us to begin to reconnect with the power and the tranquility of our essence. This is what I was saying as we open, just be aware of simply being. Not all of the content of our experiences, it's not important. What's important is this, this tranquility of your essence, this beingness that you are. But we often have layers. We have many, many different psychosomatic layers of just stuff that we want to ease into. So allow yourself to feel right down to the cellular level. And what becomes really beautiful about this process, then, and language is really very limited. So the language that I'm using is really only pointing to something that language can't really approach. But this dance between the vibrational imbalance and our capacity to come back into equilibrium, and the relationship between the physical tightness of the system, the myofascial system, and the emotional layers that have gotten compressed in, and our willingness to feel and our willingness to allow flow in our body. This is a place of healing that is really more about giving up the need to figure everything out. And the more we cultivate this, the more it takes us into this, non-linguistic, non-conceptual, non-linear place of ourselves, this quantum place of ourselves. And it takes some patience. It takes some cultivating. It takes this, being able to hold a container for ourselves where we feel safe enough, and we understand the wisdom of giving up the need to figure everything out. And something else, then, some intuitive wisdom, intuitive somatic intelligence begins to take over. And then it's almost like learning a whole new language. Good. So if you're still in the backward bend, if you could bend your knees and put your feet flat on the floor. And I'm just going to suggest that we allow both knees to go over to the left. So you're still in the backward bend. Hopefully it's all still good. And we're just going to let both knees go over to the left. So this is, has the potential to be a really intense sort of twist with this kind of elevation and the bending of the back. So you may want to move that top foot a bit, the top leg, and we won't stay in this twist too long, but it just can be so luxurious to twist this deeply. So we won't be here too long. I think that's good to the left. Let's bring it over to the right now. So we'll just go through the feet flat on the floor again, and then let it all gently flow over to the right. And if you want to adjust this left foot, that would be up to you. Good. So you can bring the legs back up. And I'm going to recommend, if you're open to this, if you can scoot back. So if you have the pillows, it can be a little trickier because they're going to want to move along with you. But what I'm suggesting is to just bring the body back and bring your bolstering under the pelvis. So this is just a sort of an incremental release out of the backward bend. And then you can move a bit if you'd like, move the knees back and forth, bring the knees up to the chest. So nothing wrong with just rolling out of the backward bend, but it can be a little severe when we've been in the backward bend that long. So if we do it incrementally here, so we release the back, come into the pelvis, and just feel all this interconnection between the the sacral spine and the lumbar spine up into the mid spine. So I'm suggesting to really take your time here and shake it up a bit, move it. And then when you feel safe enough, when it feels good, then you can come off the bolster. From here, the pelvis, you could just slip everything out and lie down for a rest, or you can roll off of it. But we will, after that rather lengthy backward bend, we'll take a rest now. So just make yourself comfortable. We'll rest here for a while. And just a reminder, when we do open up this spaciousness to move in a very slow, meditative, and internal way, this is not about information. Again, the limitation of the language, using language that's pointing to what's beyond language. So when you take in something like I just said, that healing is really about giving up the need to fix things, to control things. Just see how this feels. Just see if this resonates anywhere. Just see if this is taking in vibrationally. So we don't want to take that and analyze it, and is this right or wrong, or is this good or bad? This is not about information. This is about vibration. And ultimately, I think this is a study that can take us to celebration. Yes? Can we celebrate life instead of trying to control it and fix it, and start to see what effect that has on the system that we're working with, that we're interested in, that we're exploring. So we want to have practices, modalities that are clearly not about information, but are about this more vibrational transformation. And this is, something I mentioned earlier, maybe you caught it. I'm not trying to be rude when I say that your experiences at this level of exploration are just not relevant. So when there's an invitation, a very powerful invitation to be aware of simply being, of your beingness, of your essence, the only thing that experiences will do is they will cloud that beingness. They will distort that sense of essence, that sense of your capacity to just relate to just simply being. And this is why over and over, and why the qualities of yin are always encouraging us to simply rest. So from a deeply restful place, and we're resting physically, emotionally, psychologically. So we're not trying to figure anything out. We're not trying to remember scripture or apply technique. We're simply allowing ourselves to rest in this beingness, to rest in this essence. And then see, when we get drawn into experiences, does that qualify this beingness? Does it draw us out of this beingness? And can we relax back into it? Okay, so let's come on up then, please. And we're going to open the legs out, not to hip width and not to a full straddle. If you have a yoga mat, it's pretty much maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 inches on either side of the yoga mat. Yeah, so just it's a nice in between angle for the hips. And we're just going to come forward here for a while, get into the back of the legs. So if you're feeling a little stiff in the hips and you're not so sure about the lower back, you certainly rest the torso weight on a bolster or some pillows. You can relax out, or you can bring something into your belly. Want to be able to relax the head. If you're not so much concerned with the torso weight, and you can come to your forearms, or even sometimes it's nice to come to the hands if you can relax the shoulders, because then you can sort of pendulate the weight. You can ease in a little bit, you can withdraw a little bit. So, obviously the sensitivity of the back of the legs and the hips and obviously the lower back as well. So just kind of find your position and then relax into stillness, and we'll spend some curiosity here. Allow your attention and your breath to weave together and stay woven together. So then anything that feels uneasy, anything that feels uncomfortable, anything that you feel that you need to label as an injury, a sensitivity, you have the potential and the possibility to relax into it a little bit deeper and start to explore it as just a vibration that is possibly out of sync with the whole. And just encourage it. It's not a fixing, it's not a technical application. It's an encouraging a return to harmony. It's encouraging an opening of the the area or areas or energy that has or feels that it's a bit out of sync. Good. So let's come on up from here. And let's take that right leg and bring it in towards you. You're going to just come into a simple square. And the two choices for the square would be to take the left foot, the left leg, and put it out in front of you on something soft, not so much for elevation, but just for comfort for the ankle. So this would be your first option. The second option would to go a little bit further and take that left foot and put it up onto the right calf. So whichever square you're drawn to or you have accessibility to, they're a little tiny bit different, but not enough to make a difference really. And then the forward bend, again, use whatever support you need to make sure you're not just coming in habitually. You're not coming in unconsciously. You're coming in feeling the body itself, the physicality as a fabric. And when that fabric starts to tug a little bit, this is where we slow down and draw ourselves into that. We don't want to tear the fabric. We don't want to pull it out of alignment or sync, out of synchronicity. We want to just feel like we're applying the compression in a smooth, gentle, compassionate way. And then coming into a position we can really begin to let go of the structure. We're not so much interested in the structure. We're interested in what the structure asana has to reveal organically over time. Yeah, and just let me say that again, because it's an interesting thing to explore. It may seem a bit counterintuitive that we're not really interested in the structure. We're interested in what the structure will reveal. Just as maybe another way to say this is, whatever we label as symptom, pain, discomfort, unease, we're not interested in the symptom. We're interested in the factors that give rise to the symptom. What is it that's at that vibrational level that is a little out of sync? And how do we encourage that? And I do understand that it is, very challenging to sort of loosen the dominance and the habits of the mind, because it seems as if the mind is responsible for creating, or the mind is, this conceptual imagery that we live in. It just seems so real, and we get convinced that this is our reality, that our mind is our reality. But one of the things that yoga is very clear on exploring is, just as we can explore the body as a certain kind of mechanism, and we can intuit at some level that we are not the body. The same thing with the mind. The mind is just a mechanism. It's just a very powerful creative tool, but it is not our reality. Yoga is asking us to just be aware of simply being this. I don't even want to call it a state. It's just beingness. It's presence. It's the connection with, the merging with this essential self, if you will, just this essence. You can't even really put words to it. And it's not something we have to cultivate. It's not something we have to learn about. It's not something that we have any distance from. This is what we are. This is our reality. So give the mind some space. Give the mind some space so you can give it its due. It's wonderful and powerful and creative and necessary, but it's not you. Appreciate the body. Again, it's a wonderful and creative and great for getting from point A to point B, but it's not you. And our capacity to rest in this essence, this beingness, it's just like coming home, really. So let's come on up from this very, very slowly. And if you could just keep your lower body just the way it is, whatever configuration you have, and keep your eyes closed, and just come on out of the forward bend and just sit just for a few moments, just to feel that, just the nature of the vibration. So it's one thing to talk about it, and it's one thing to come in and out of it when you're in the pose, but when we release the contraction, we can actually viscerally feel directly that, oh yes, the body is vibrating. The vibration of contraction, verifiably different than the vibration of expanding and release. And we really want to, like I said earlier, learn the language of this somatic intelligence, the somatic vibration of the body. This is why we want to move slowly and just listen to all these little pockets and nooks and crannies of the body. Good. So we can open the legs out now once again, pretty much to the same angle that you were at. If you would like to put something under the knees for the second time, the small bolster, if you have one, works really well for that. If you don't use the big bolster, but just roll yourself up a towel or a blanket. So just the second time, it just relieves some of the pressure in the back of the legs. Your choice, though. You could do it without this. And then again, we'll come forward. Try to soften that lower back. Try to relax if you need some support forward. Again, awareness of the weight of the skull, the brain, the head is good to really feel like the entirety of your back line and spine is articulating. The other thing that this mechanism of the mind is very, very good at doing is creating boundaries. So using language to create boundaries, using imagery to create boundaries, solidifying habits to create boundaries. And sometimes this is, once again, very useful, but we can also invite into our practice, weave into our practice to allow our boundaries to become more vague and less certain and more flexible. Because upon genuine firsthand examination, these boundaries, for the most part, are just habits. And this in itself can create a deep sense of relaxation, that we don't have to hold a continual boundary between inner and outer, mind and body, left hemisphere, right hemisphere, inhalation, exhalation, good, bad. We can let these become more vague. And then if we're interested, we can see if we can actually locate a boundary. The power of deep relaxation is nothing less than profound. So let your boundaries become just more vague. Good. So let's come on up from here. And we'll just do the other side of the second part. So this time, let's bring that left leg in first. And the right foot can stay in front if you want. I like to put something under it just for a little softening, or bring that right foot up onto that left calf. So either way, start to soften, start to relax forward. Don't stretch, lengthen, elongate forward, but relax the shoulders. See if you can connect with that mid back. Drop the weight of the head down. Use any support that you need. And so again, you see that the time sort of loses its its reality after a while. So you want to make sure that the body itself, the the discomfort, the compression isn't a distraction. We want to relax into this, this sort of vague place, this vague place you like to call you. And part of this, what I'm talking about with this inner vagueness, this lack of boundaries, is to explore that we have this intrinsic equilibrium. We don't have to go looking for it. We don't have to. It's part of our nature. It's part of our deep cellular wisdom. It's part of what keeps us going. So this is what I was talking about earlier with the synchronicity of vibration, is that when we feel something a little off or out of kilter, this is where we want to pay attention. This is the teacher. The equilibrium is intrinsic. We're not cultivating, we're not having to find it. It's natural to us. It's intrinsic. So we're simply easing in and easing out. We're listening carefully. We're paying attention. We're awakening that. We're awakening that intelligence that is the intrinsic equilibrium. And also, I just have to add to that, appreciate that. This is a beautiful, just a beautiful part of ourselves that we have this. And if we have layered it over, if we've lost touch with it because we allow the mind to dominate, we live primarily conceptually, if we have unexpressed emotions, then this is the work that we do. We don't have to struggle. We simply open up space to do this exploration. We get to relax the mind. We get to feel our feelings, feel our emotions, let them guide us. It's just all perfectly natural and perfectly beautiful. And in a way, it's beyond. That's what I'm saying is it's not about information. It's about feeling the wisdom, feeling the intelligence. Good. So once again, let's just roll up. And if you can just keep the lower body grounded and the knees where they are, and just sit up and just feel this, this sense of vitality. So just be curious of this vitality that's moving through you. What is this? Right, of course, we cannot put a label to it, a name to it, but we can feel it. So just breathe. Be aware of simply being. Good. So let's open the legs out. And same thing, just feel whatever you're feeling just as vitality. It's moving through this, this internal system. And then when you're ready, let's lie down and we'll take a rest. And it can be quite lovely if you really start to cultivate this practice a bit, where you're feeling just the vitality and you're losing the need to label it, because it can open up, or maybe more accurately get you in touch with a sense of spaciousness. And this is lovely. This is really at some level what we mostly are. When we have the aches and the pains and the limited, restricted movement, we can feel very solid. But the reality is we're extremely spacious. So when we start to feel the body as this flow, as this vitality, as this energy, as this vibration, and then when even those labels, we drop those labels and just feel this wide open spaciousness, this is what's real for us. This is our reality. And then from that spaciousness, then we just open up and relax into and rest as this beingness, this presence. Good. So if you are lying on your back, you can just roll over onto your belly. Just have I have a little blanket here for my head, so you may want that. But just roll over onto your belly and just come on to your forearms for a few moments here. We're not going to stay here too long, but this can be nice after the forward bend. So just come on to the forearms so the elbows are under the shoulders. Open up the legs a little wider than your hips, and maybe sway the hips a little bit. And just have a little intuitive movement with the upper body, sort of relax down and draw up, and just kind of check in with that lumbar area. And one of the things that's really interesting, and I think sometimes we might forget it, is that the three primary areas of the spine, the lower, the mid, and the upper, they're very, very different. in terms of how they hold tension and mobility. So, oftentimes we work them, specifically, but they're so connected. They're not even connected. It's just one spine, but they have different functions, if you will, different ways they articulate and hold things. So we sometimes want to feel that. We want to feel that, oh yeah, even though upper lower spine are connected, they're very, very different in many, many ways, and how they're holding our energy and tensions and misalignments, and the same thing with the mid spine. So we can sort of go in and out of feeling the the articulation and the oneness, but also the sort of the individual, and even to the point of the vertebra, we can get sensitive enough to feel this, the vertebra articulating as well. Good. So it just rest on this left forearm, and we're going to take the right hand and put it under that left armpit, and then rest down on that right shoulder. Try not to roll over to the right, though. We want to keep this left arm on the floor so you can support yourself, so the left side of the body can be as flat as possible. And that's why I suggested this blanket, so you don't have to strain the neck trying to just let it dangle. So let the head be nice and comfortable. So it's just basically the weight of the upper body compressing into this right shoulder. And then you can, if you need to release it, you can roll away from it, but don't rest on the side. Not too much will happen there. Trust this weight. If it's too much, you can come in and out of it, but we won't be here too long. It will just seem like we're going to be here too long, but we won't be. The other invitation of just breathe is it is an invitation to check in, to see if you have indeed lost touch with your breathing. So to lose touch with your breathing is a catalyst for us to lose touch with many, many other aspects of ourself. So one of the primary explorations and one of the primary invitations of yoga is just to reestablish contact with your breathing. And the slowness and the receptivity of the yin is to come back to your exhalation, slow, gentle, deep exhale, and see that the exhalation actually informs the inhalation. So this allows us to start to break habits, to reestablish connection with our breathing. And the positive effects of this are just global for the body, for the mind, and for the heart. And just, sort of an aspect of this, and there are many, many unlimited aspects to exploring our breathing and reestablishing connection with our breathing. But one that's particularly favorable to this particular approach is to start to feel that the exhalation, especially the tail end of the exhalation, cultivates a sense of emptiness. And then the fullness of the inhalation cultivates a sense of absorption. So we don't want to always be absorbing. We don't want to always be contracting. We also want to be emptying. We want to be releasing as well. We want to feel this rhythmically in the body. Good. So you can put a little bit of pressure on this left arm, this left hand, and just raise that right shoulder up a bit and slip that right arm out from under. From here, before we do the other side, I'm going to suggest that you just draw yourself back into child's position and just soften into the lower back. And again, you can have a little sway of the hips here is nice. Just kind of check in. And then again, we'll come back down to the belly. Lie nice and flat. And so again, we're back to both forearms. And this time we'll take that left arm, slip it under the right armpit, relax on the left shoulder, try to keep that right side of the body as flat as possible. I know we're not going to get the shoulder flat. And then bring whatever bolstering under the head. You keep the right arm a little bit to the side and to the front, just in case you need to release some pressure. And then we'll just relax into it. Same thing for that right hip though. So try not to let the right hip roll up. You want to keep the hips. And you can bend that right knee if you'd like. We just want to have those hips as flat as possible. So whatever works for, opening and relaxing the hips as well. it's really simply just an illusion that we need to fix ourselves, improve something, get better at, become more spiritual, become awakened, become enlightened. It's really unfortunate that these mystical spiritual words of enlightenment and awakening have become this sort of special experience. That's something, if we get it right, we will have this special experience, and then we will somehow be special. But this is the illusion. This is the trick of experiences. This has nothing to do with who we essentially are. This has nothing to do with our beingness, just to be. So this is why we explore our experiences as being somewhat irrelevant, that they just come and they go. They're interesting. They're part of life. But when we identify with them, then we can have enlightened and unenlightened experiences. We can have spiritual and not spiritual experiences, but they're just experiences. They're just, a light show in our head. So when we can recede from the experiences, when we can just withdraw the attention, so we're no longer habitually transfixed, seduced by the way attention morphs into experience. We let that attention relax. So this is relaxing the mind, relaxing the self-identity, the self-image, and just resting in the awareness, the expansiveness and the openness and the infinite wisdom, intelligence of just awareness, consciousness, beingness, presence. So the words, again, don't do it justice. Then we can allow the experiences to come and go, just as we allow dreams at night. If we have a dream, we don't need to identify with it. We don't need to think it's real. It's an illusion. It's transparent. So be curious about this. Be curious about the self-identification, the preoccupation with your experiences. And be just as curious about your ability to be aware of simply being, just to simply be.
Good. So once again, let's press up on that arm and draw the arm out from under the shoulder. Yeah. And again, let's go back into the child's pose. So you can bring the knees together. Second time, you can open the knees if you want to slide into the hips a bit. Just let this energy move around a bit. And then before we go into a rest, we're going to rest, but I would like to elevate the pelvis a bit. So you can take the big bolster, and if you don't have the big bolster, just fold up a blanket so it matches the height of this bolster. So you just fold something up a couple of times, and so something like just a nice pad if you don't have the bolster. So it's just about the same height. Either one is fine, really.
And then let's
bring the hips up, the pelvis onto this blanket or the bolster, not the lower back. So we've already been in the lower back. Keep the feet on the floor till you get the upper body down. And this is where it may need some adjustment. So if you're a little high up in the lower back, bring it down. Yeah, so you feel like right below the pubic bone, there it is. And then let the legs just relax out a little bit wider than the hips, the arms just to the side. And we'll just relax here.
just breathe. Connect with your breath. Let your body, let your awareness, let your mind all weave into your breathing. And allow the awareness of the breathing to just drift through this pelvic area. See if you can relax to a very, very subtle place with this part of the body. You're not looking to change anything. You're not looking to analyze anything. This is an area of the body where you just simply intuit. You just simply become very sensitive to any vibrations that are a bit out of sync. And just lovingly encourage them to come back into harmony. And just to feel this dance, I said earlier that the fascia is this type of doorway, if you will, this interface between the physical and the energetic of the body. So just intuit this, just feel that certainly there are aspects that we could label as physical, but there's also this openness and this spaciousness that we could label energetic. So take both of those labels and just let them go and just feel into it. We're trying to tune into our feelings and our emotions. We're allowing any subtle physical release to also be connected to any emotional release, anything that has been repressed or hidden, and allow that to simply breathe. And just to know, there is no limit to how you can explore yourself. There's no limit to the intelligence that you have access to within yourself. This is the same intelligence that allows the sun and the moon and the stars to stay in their orbit. This is the same intelligence that allows the moon and the tides to dance in harmony. And genuinely beginning to trust and have faith in this intelligence this is the foundation of really being able to celebrate our life instead of having to fix it and control it. And this is the awakening. This is the enlightenment. This is the living in the presence of our beingness. This is the identifying with I am, not I am this or that, or I am going to be, or I was, but just simply I am. So if you would like to stay in this position and keep relaxing here, feel free to do that. If you would like to start to have some movement, always nice to bring the knees up, come into a bit of a forward bend. You can keep bringing the knees up and over, whichever seems best for you. Or you could remove this, roll off of it, and come into Shavasana. You can sit up with me if you'd like and prepare to close. So any of those choices, and we'll just take some time here. Your body is very precious. Take good care of it. It is your vehicle for awakening. Namaste.